G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoyed today's episode, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie, let's get right into it. Posted by new user 9461, titled, Am I the asshole for telling my uncle to stop gifting my daughter extravagant trips? So a little backstory. When my sisters and I were kids, every year for our birthdays and Christmas, my uncle would give us cards. Inside of those cards would be a printed out picture of some place, i.e. local theme parks, the zoo, aquarium, museums, any place that a kid would love to go. After we opened them, he would tell us that we're going to that place. He would say things like, "It's going to be the best trip of your life." That would obviously make us very excited. Here's the thing, we never went on any of those trips. We never went to any of those places. As a young kid, it would be disappointing, but after a while, I started expecting it and just going along with it. I don't hold any animosity towards him at all, obviously. As an adult now, I understand he did that because he didn't have the means to buy us gifts. Here is where I'm starting to have a little bit of an issue with it. My daughter's 5th birthday was last week. My uncle gave her a card. She opened it to find a printed out picture of a theme park about 2 hours away from our house, and he promised her a fun weekend away. He promised her things like a giant hotel room with a swimming pool, all the snacks she could ever want, and tickets to every show she wants to see at the park. She was over the moon. For the past week, my daughter has talked non-stop about this trip. She keeps telling me how excited she is, and how excited her whole class at school is for her. It breaks my heart to look at that smile on her face, knowing that it's not gonna happen. I remember how disappointing it was for me, and I don't want her to go through that. So I texted my uncle, and here is what the message said. "Hi, your message in my daughter's card was so beautiful. Do you think next time you could leave out the promise of an extravagant trip? The thought and gesture is amazing. However, I never know what to say when she asks me when this trip will be. She absolutely loves spending time with you, so I know the promise of even a nice lunch together would make her so happy." He never responded, but my aunt told me he was upset. She said something like he was offended that I implied the only thing he could afford was a nice lunch. I didn't mean it like that at all. I just wanted him to understand that she loves him and wants to spend time with him, and he doesn't need to promise impossible things for that to happen, but I can see why he interpreted it the way he did. And that's where I'm wondering if I'm the asshole. This has been an unspoken thing in my family for so many years, so I'm now wondering if I should have just kept it that way. I just can't stand the thought of my little girl getting disappointed so many times. My sisters and my mum agree with me. My mum even said that she wished she stopped it when we were kids. So am I the asshole for telling my uncle to stop gifting my daughter extravagant trips? I'm gonna go with not the asshole for this one, OP, and I think that you didn't go hard enough here. This guy has no remorse, absolutely leading you and now your daughter astray when it comes to these insane promises of lavish trips. Before he had any chance to give her the gift for that holiday, you should have stepped in and been like, "Cut the shit, this isn't happening. You're giving her a normal birthday present. You're not giving her this absolutely insane birthday card with unworldly promises that are going to send her into a spin and that are going to embarrass her and make her question her reality. You've already done this to me. You are not continuing this generational trauma." He's a gigantic piece of shit continuing to do this. But yeah, what else is there to say besides not the asshole? In the comments, not the asshole. It is an incredibly cruel thing to lie to a young child like that. There is zero need for it. Don't be like that. Of course there is a need for it. It makes the uncle feel better. Sarcasm. It makes the uncle feel rich and generous, and it only costs a couple bucks. If he doesn't follow through, intercept any cards coming from this jerk. Not the asshole. But why are you being sensitive to his feelings when he wasn't sensitive to yours when you were a child? Tell him that his actions caused you repeated disappointment when he didn't follow through on his promises, and that you don't want your child to experience the same. IOUs are not presents. As you say, a lunch or an activity on the day would be lovely, but other than that, stick to an actual gift or give nothing at all. This too, I would tell him to get lost, and the aunt to her face, "Well, you obviously can't pay for the trip since I have X amount of trips that I still am waiting to go on." I would add in the small, yet significant detail that the daughter told all of her classmates about the trip. Ask the uncle how he thinks she'll feel when she has to keep saying she isn't going yet. Her classmates will think that she made it all up to get attention. Not the asshole. It's slightly underhanded, but start checking the cards from uncle. Take out the trip picture and just give the card to daughter. Not the asshole. Stop being nice because he is not being nice. He knowingly is getting a child's hopes up and then crushing it. There isn't one nice thing about what he's doing. Tell him he's no longer allowed to give gifts because he's a known liar and that all attempts will be intercepted by you. It's worse than that. He keeps getting them excited for him. He basks in that excitement and then goes home, leaving the parents to deal with the fallout. This, right here, explain to aunt that you were left dealing with the fallout and he is only creating disappointment. If he promises something year after year and doesn't ever deliver, he is the asshole here. Aunt and uncle don't see the problem because they're creating it and then walking away. It needs to stop. Update. Thanks to everyone for your feedback on my last post. A lot of people asked me why I was being so nice to my uncle, and honestly, I think I underestimated how weird it was because it's been so normalized in my family. I didn't want to cause drama, so I went about it as non-confrontational as possible. I agree now I should have been more direct. Another concern a lot of you had was that I allowed this to happen to my daughter previously. That is not true. This is the first time he promised her one of his trips. That's why I decided to say something so this doesn't become a recurring thing. Here's the update. I tried to call my uncle twice, but he didn't answer. I got through to my aunt and explained everything to her, how many times he did this to my siblings and I, and how often we were disappointed. I told her my daughter was so excited, and if they were actually planning to take her on this trip, I would apologize. She didn't take that well. She told me that I was creating unnecessary drama and that my daughter and I are acting entitled to expect them to drop everything to go on this trip. I was shocked and angry. I said, how dare you say that? She didn't imagine this trip in her mind and then expect you to take her. You promised her this trip. Her disappointment is not entitlement. I said it's not my job to make sure a grown man feels secure in himself, and it's a shame my family spent so long coddling him. I was just so mad that I hung up. I don't feel any ounce of guilt for setting my boundary anymore. For everyone asking if I can take my daughter on the trip, unfortunately that theme park closes for the season this month, but I surprised her with something even better. After the phone call with my aunt, my partner and I decided to book a trip to Disneyland. It sounds crazy and impulsive, but we've been wanting to plan this for a while now and decided that it's the perfect time. My kid is entitled to an extravagant trip. Last night, we sat her down and explained that her uncle won't be able to take her on the trip. I tried to be as honest as possible without confusing her. She was unsurprisingly upset and had a lot of questions. After we answered them all, I told her not to worry because her mum and dad are taking her somewhere instead. When she found out that it was Disney, she was over the moon. She spent all day deciding which Minnie Mouse stuffy she wants to take with her. I told her to tell her class that her trip just got upgraded. All things considered, it's a happy ending. I know I won't always be able to protect her from disappointment, but I sure as hell will do my best. She's getting that giant hotel room she was promised. In the comments, Ivy Lass says, "Your aunt is a piece of work. We promised your daughter a trip, but you're entitled because you expect us to follow through on that trip. Have fun at Disney." No kidding. The belief that you can play with a child's emotions to stoke your own ego? I mean, it sounds like they've been getting away with it for the past couple of decades without anyone calling them on it. The aunt and uncle are obviously the worst assholes in this scenario, but the rest of the family gets dishonorable mentions for enabling this behavior at the expense of children. If we're being honest, the uncle is not only the asshole, but he's a pathological liar who delights in hurting children. He's a sick puppy. But what makes it even worse is that his behavior has been enabled for years. Imagine how crushed OP was as a child to be promised trips that never happened. If it were me, he would never be invited to another gathering. It's not a joke. it is not funny, it is not cute, it is intentionally cruel. That family dynamic is just wild. Why has everyone just accepted that Uncle exclusively gifts crushed dreams and disappointment to all the kids in the family? How and why did it take so long for someone to push back? I don't exactly understand how this works, but alas, this family is not alone. Unless OP is one of my in-laws, I guess. My husband comes from a family like this, where the promise of something and the happiness and excitement it inspires is regarded as a gift somehow completely separate from the thing itself. I'm not saying anyone believes this consciously, but multiple members of his family feel the joy of giving so much just by making the promise that they promise things apparently without considering how or whether they will deliver. My hat is off to OP, because I know from watching my husband that this pattern is disturbingly easy for children to absorb and then replicate, no matter how much they were disappointed when they were on the receiving end. It has taken real work for him to unlearn the habit of promising things first, because he knows the promise will make someone happy, and only then figuring out if he can execute them. Our next post is by user effing panty thieves, titled, "Suspected my roommate, 35 male, was going into my, 30 female, room, and he was, to steal my effing panties." So the suspicion started because about a month ago, he texted me at night asking if the upstairs neighbors were being loud in my room, and I texted back, "No, I'm at a friend's house tonight, I won't be back until 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. tomorrow." I left said friends early the next morning, went into my room, and effed around on my computer. Dude just effing opened the door and tried to walk in at 7:30 a.m. Excuse me? Very aggressively, I said, and he came back with two conflicting statements when pressed. "Sorry, I thought I knocked," which, F you, I didn't effing open the door or invite you in, so what the F? Followed by, "I thought it was my room," which, why the hell would you knock to go into your own room? We're also on opposite sides of the hallway? It made me feel weird, and I told my boyfriend about it, who brought me a Casa webcam. The very next day, following installation, this guy goes into my effing room while I'm at therapy, and it's to pet my cats. Alright, that's a little weird that you didn't ask beforehand, but that's okay. It's like 1.5 out of 10 on the creepy scale compared to what I thought was happening. My cats cannot leave my room, as my other roommate, 60 male, has a cat with free reign of the apartment, and his cat F's my cat up, so they're unfortunately confined to my room. You can come into my room to pet my cats. That's fine, I guess. Why not just say that when you tried the other day then? Nothing happens for weeks until yesterday. Yesterday was a fairly light day, and I didn't even have to go to campus, so I just got to the gym. While I'm at the gym, I get an activity detected notification. Since the last time I saw him in my room to pet my cats, every activity detected notification has just been one of the furballs on my desk. Nope, it's him entering my room, not even looking all the way around before he sticks his hands into my effing hamper and digs around for a minute. Then he immediately goes to my clean underwear drawer, and when he's done there, effing beelines it for my nightstand, where I keep my very expensive lingerie, as well as all of my sex toys. He very clearly knows where all of my things are. I'm watching this live at the gym, and I'm effing livid. After he leaves my room, I rewatched the clips and noticed he put something back into my hamper on entry. He enters the room with something, folded fabric, in his hands, and goes for my hamper, and then when he's done in the hamper, there is nothing in his hands anymore. So he's just been borrowing and/or stealing my clothes. Underwear. I text him both on Discord and in our roommate chat. No one is permitted in my room when I'm not there, and especially not to raid my effing used clothing, panty drawer, or sex drawer. He just says sorry, and then immediately leaves the group chat, and then spams me on Discord and text messages. "I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me, it won't happen again, I have a problem, you know I'm dumb. I got caught, I think this is what I should say. Bullshit." I just told him, don't effing speak to me, and only text me about bills. Unfortunately, I don't have parents. My boyfriend lives with his parents who would not be down with me living there, and none of my friends have a place that I can stay. I am stuck here. I'm also fixed income because grad school, So even if I could afford the monthly, deposits and such wouldn't be covered. And it took me 3 months to find this place, which was the first and only to let me keep both cats. I already bought and installed a lock, despite my apartment complex saying I can't have a lock on my door, but F them. My safety comes first. However, I can't help but feel disgusted about my things being touched. After I got back from the gym yesterday, I threw on a bathrobe and never got dressed again. Today, when I woke up and thought that I'd go to the gym early, I paused in my underwear drawer and just couldn't bring myself to put any on. This guy already owes me $400, but I don't even want to wear anything in my underwear drawer, not knowing what pair has been used by him. My friends say that I should go through and catalog, as well as sterilize all of my things. I just want everything replaced, but considering the cost of some of these things, one of my bras is $600, they think it's unreasonable to ask. I also want to go file a police report, but I don't even know what it would be for. Trespassing? The second I press charges, I'm out a roommate, and his room is an effing neckbeard nest that I'm not going to clean. I don't even know what to do here. I'm still livid, and I still feel pretty effing unsafe with a lock on the door. Is there anything else that I can and should do? Update, same post, same day. The rest of the footage hadn't loaded. Apparently he was jerking off after he went to the panty drawer with my effing lube. Goddamn degenerate. I'm currently calling non-emergency to see what actions can be taken and how long I can sit on this, since moving or replacing him as a roommate isn't an option. Edit, the bra was purchased when I was working over 3 years ago and making $120,000 a year. I've saved a majority of my earnings so that I could return to school for my master's, which I paid for and completed in 2 years, and now I'm going for my PhD, living off of savings and extremely lean research stipends. What purchases I made 3 years ago isn't effing relevant. Please stop saying that I have a spending prioritization issue when it's a reading comprehension issue from some of you. In the comments, someone says to OP, talk to your landlord. And OP says, I don't have a landlord. I have a property management company that refuses to do any sort of work. They wouldn't evict the tenants above me when I have them on video threatening to push me down the stairs. Another video of them threatening another tenant when they talked to their kid, or leaving half-eaten food on the stairs nearly daily, despite the fact that this building has a well-established roach problem. I have to wait 3 weeks for a washer to be replaced and refuse to pay rent for the month that it was broken, which I was shocked they had the sense to not fight me on. My landlord isn't a person. My landlord is a corporation who cannot even be bothered to pay front office staff to be here on weekends. More than likely, I'll pick up a 6-month tenancy somewhere, and my boyfriend will help me with deposit costs if need be. I'm going to look at 2 places today and go over some finances to see what makes the most sense. Why can't you just get him evicted? OP says, because I'm fixed income, and my other roommate is also fixed income. Neither of us can afford an extra $700 to $1,000 a month until we find someone else. I could do it for a month, maybe 2, but he absolutely couldn't, and I could not foot the bill to pay $2,000 a month in just rent, utilities, and internet. It isn't a little extra. Removing the third roommate would likely be 2.5 times what I'm paying now if we can't find someone to immediately replace him. Press charges. OP says, oh, I'm pressing charges either way. I already sent him one 5-second clip of him effing jerking it in my room when he said he wasn't doing anything in my room the first time. If I can get out of the lease first before him, I would rather do that. Both of their rooms are effing disgusting, cannot walk past them without holding my breath, and I do not want to be on the lease whenever it ends because I just know I will be on the hook for replacing the carpeting or any other smell that they're just unable to remove. When I moved in, they closed both of their doors and put out air fresheners. They cleaned. 5 days after I signed my lease and was officially moved in, they started leaving their doors open, and ever since, it's just been a nasal nightmare. I'll ask them to do something about it, things will be fine for a month, and then it's back to square one. I'm tired of it, so I might as well take this sign or opportunity to get the hell out. Make sure to not send the video to others, as that could be a crime. OP says, no, I haven't sent it to anyone other than him. I've physically shown part of the footage, him entering the room, to the leasing office, as well as him hiking up his shorts after spamming him to get the F out of my room. But everything in between is for me and the PD to figure out. The type of bra, and one more note from OP since some comments ridicule her for her spending. OP says, "Yup, Bordel, Studiopia, and AP are expensive. I've been advised by non-emergency to not sanitize, in case I need any of these things for evidence, and also if they can be submitted under damages for my renter's insurance to cover them. Effing thank you." These pieces were bought when I was miserable, but being paid north of 6 figures. My return for my MFA was decided after 3 years in an industry that I hated, and buying nice things for myself as an occasional treat for putting up with my industry 3 years ago is not the effing point of this post, nor relevant. It was relevant to the story because I asked my friends if he should pay for these things to be replaced, and they said yes until I told them how much some of my more expensive lingerie costs, and then they said, well, maybe don't ask for him to pay for all of it just because you have expensive taste. And I thought that that was insane. I saved money for 3 years so that I could do this. I have emergencies budgeted into my living expenses for the next 3 years of schooling, but I feel I shouldn't have to qualify replacement clothing for stuff my roommate jerked off to as an emergency. It should either be covered by him or insurance, as it is clearly damaged. One more thought from OP. I leave my pepper spray literally on the same nightstand he violated next to my nightstick, and my underwear drawer has literally my handgun case on top of it, in plain view. You cannot miss it. And he knows it's a gun because I told him I started carrying when our shitbag upstairs neighbors moved in. It does not matter to the guy. Update. Hello all. I am indeed alive and out of that shitty apartment. I didn't want to provide an update until I knew the full outcome of the story, and it unfortunately took just under an hour ago to get that. After a week and a half of playing phone tag to file a police report, and then sitting in a police substation for 7 hours to file a report, he was eventually arrested for criminal trespassing, which is a felony charge in my state. This was in April. He, or the prosecutor, were able to shove back pre-trial hearings until today, nearly into November. Today, he pled guilty to criminal trespassing and will have 12 months of probation. Since it's a felony, he will also lose his guns. I was able to be released from the lease since the judge who saw him the morning after his arrest issued a notice to vacate under the explicit supervision of law enforcement. Since I was involved in the order, I was given the option to break the lease without penalty, which I enthusiastically agreed to. I paid my other roommate utilities startup fees. Internet and power were in douchebag's name, and utilities for the next 3 months before I left, since he had to backfill 2 roommates. I also cleaned my own room and douchebag's room before I left. He was stealing all sorts of shit from me and my other roommate, mostly food that we never gave him permission to eat, despite him literally only ever door-dashing food and making more money than me and other roommate combined. Fun fact for those of you who are wondering, didn't he jerk off with your stuff? Isn't that sexual assault? Why is there a trespassing charge instead of something sex crime related? It turns out, at least where I live, that for sex crimes there has to be a victim. Since I was never present in the room when he committed those acts, and there was no DNA evidence left on any of my things, there was technically no victim, which means no sex crime. I could have pushed for that charge, but the chances of that sticking were nothing. Since douchebag never posted the room I was renting on Craigslist and only posted it on a website where you had to upload a face pic to even be a user, I wanted to make sure whatever he was arrested for stuck so that no other woman ever had to have her stuff violated again. I completely forgot about that whole website thing until the prosecutor's office called me and they asked me how I even found the room in the first place. Were there any other signs? What about my last roommate, etc., when they were building the case against him? The only man that I will now room with is my partner. In the comments, Blazar Quasar says, I was hoping to find out if the disgusting POS had to pay for her stuff or not, but I'm glad she's out. That's effing gross. F that guy. I'm disappointed that even her friends blamed her for having expensive stuff. It doesn't matter if you have something expensive, someone else violated it or ruined it, they have to replace it. Yeah, like her expensive taste in lingerie meant that it was acceptable on some level. He can pay to replace the cheap stuff, but what did you expect with expensive lingerie like that? Kind of vibes. Gross. Him ruining her expensive lingerie should have made them more sympathetic, not less. What a terrible day to have eyes. How astonishing that the guy couldn't be charged for being such a disgusting pervert. Today would have been a good day to be Jared, 19. OP's ex-roommate is a menace for sure. Well, I'll be. A story that might actually be true, at least based on the legal situation. After a week and a half of playing phone tag to file a police report, and then sitting in a police substation for 7 hours to file a report, he was eventually arrested for criminal trespassing. This was in April. You mean you didn't call your attorney within 20 minutes of finding out he was in your underwear drawer, and he wasn't arrested and convicted within 24 hours? The hell, you say? When I was in college, I caught my roommate in my bedroom with my underwear around him on my bed. I was the only one on the lease, so I kicked him out. This was well before any kind of small camera could be used. He, of course, told all of our mutual friends that I was just crazy, and he got away with it because I didn't want to tell them the truth. It seemed too awful to tell everyone what had happened, so I let them think that I was just some crazy woman who kicked him out of nowhere. Most of them know the truth today, though. Effing perverts. And yeah, I tend to agree with some of those previous comments here. What the hell is with the victim blaming from the friends? He also makes more than you and the other roommate combined in income. Just tell your friends that and be like, he can easily afford to pay for new lingerie for me. Why is it that when you have expensive taste, all of a sudden people are not on your side, even though you've been horrendously violated? What kind of logic is that from the friends? Honestly, OP, I am so glad that you got justice in this situation, and I hope that pig has the life he deserves. Because, Christ, what an animal. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's stories. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.